It was one of those quiet evenings at the edge of the city, the kind that smell faintly of rain and fading hope. The soft hum of chatter filled the cozy little restaurant, Rosie's Corner, where a young waitress named Leela Thompson worked quietly behind the counter. Leela wasn't the type to draw attention. She was gentle, shy, and always kept her hair tied in a low bun that hid part of her face. She wasn't invisible, but she tried to be. Her co-workers adored her kindness, but most customers barely noticed her, except for one woman who would soon change her life forever. That woman was Eleanor Hartman, the mother of Adrian Hartman, one of the country's youngest billionaires, owner of the prestigious Hartman Group. But tonight, Eleanor wasn't here as a wealthy socialite. She was just a woman, an elegant, silver-haired lady with a warm smile and eyes that spoke more than words ever could. Because Eleanor was deaf. Leela noticed her the moment she walked in, the graceful way she observed the world, the soft patience in her expression as she waited to be seated. Other waitresses hesitated, unsure how to communicate. But Leela, after a nervous breath, stepped forward. Leela gently placed a hand on her chest, smiled and signed, "Hello, my name is Leela, welcome." Eleanor's eyes widened, surprise first, then joy. Her lips curved into a smile that seemed to light up the entire restaurant. Eleanor signed back slowly. "You know sign language?" Leela nodded. "A little," she replied with trembling hands. "My younger brother is deaf. I learned for him." What followed was a quiet but beautiful exchange of signs and laughter. For the first time that night, the restaurant wasn't just serving food. It was serving connection. Customers around them paused to watch the interaction, some with tears in their eyes. When Eleanor finished her meal, she reached for her notepad and scribbled something down before leaving a generous tip. Leela glanced at the note. "You have a beautiful heart. The world needs more people like you." Leela smiled softly, not realizing that this small act of kindness had just set destiny in motion. Leela's life wasn't easy. She worked double shifts to pay for her brother Noah's therapy and schooling. Their parents had passed away in a car accident 5 years earlier, leaving Leela, barely 19, as both sister and mother. She lived in a tiny apartment, often skipping meals so her brother could have what he needed. Yet every morning, she faced the world with quiet grace. No complaints, no bitterness, just a shy smile and an unshakable will. That night, as she walked home under the drizzle, she held Eleanor's note close to her heart. It was the first compliment she'd received in a long time. She didn't know that the next morning, her life would completely change. When Leela arrived at work the next day, her manager rushed up to her, eyes wide. "Leela, there's someone here asking for you." She turned to see a tall man in a black suit standing by the counter. He was strikingly handsome, sharp jawline, piercing blue eyes, the kind of man who didn't belong in small diners. He held himself with quiet confidence. "Miss Thompson?" he asked, his voice smooth but serious. Leela nodded nervously. "Yes, sir. I'm Adrian Hartman," he said simply. Her heart skipped. The Adrian Hartman, billionaire CEO, son of Eleanor Hartman. "My mother had dinner here last night," he continued. "She told me about a waitress who signed with her." Leela froze, unsure how to respond. "She hasn't stopped talking about you," he added softly. "She asked me to bring you to the Hartman estate. She wants to see you again." Leela didn't know what to think. Why would a billionaire's mother want to see her? But something in Adrian's eyes, sincerity, maybe curiosity, made her say yes. That evening, a black car arrived to pick her up. She wore her best dress, a simple lavender one she'd bought years ago. When she stepped out onto the marble driveway of the Hartman mansion, she felt completely out of place, like a sparrow in a palace of peacocks. But then Eleanor appeared, signing with a smile. "You came." Leela signed back shyly. Of course. Over tea and conversation, Eleanor learned about Leela's life, her brother, her struggles, her love for people, her dream of becoming a teacher for children with hearing disabilities. By the end of the evening, Eleanor reached across the table and took her hands. "You remind me of myself," she signed. "When I lost my hearing, people stopped listening. But kindness always finds a way." Adrian watched silently from the corner of the room. Something in the way Leela looked at his mother, with respect, not pity, stirred something deep inside him. He had met countless people chasing wealth, but rarely anyone with such humility. Weeks passed. Leela continued working, but now she occasionally visited the Hartman estate to teach Eleanor more conversational signing. Slowly, Adrian began joining them. Curious, learning signs himself, often laughing at his own mistakes. Yet, not everyone approved. The media caught wind of the visits, painting ugly stories. Billionaire's mother befriends Waitress. Gold digger rumors spread. Leela was heartbroken. The restaurant received harassing calls. Her manager asked her to take time off to avoid drama. Adrian tried to protect her, but Leela couldn't handle the attention. "I never wanted trouble," she cried. "Your world and mine are too different." Adrian stepped closer, his eyes full of emotion. "Leela, please don't let other people define your worth." She shook her head. "You don't understand, Adrian. People like me don't belong in stories like yours." She left before he could say another word. Days passed. Leela stayed home broken and scared. But then one morning she woke up to a knock on her door. It was Eleanor, standing there with tears in her eyes and a gentle smile. She signed, "I won't let the world take your kindness away." She held up an envelope. A scholarship offer from the Hartman Foundation, fully funding Leela's education to become a certified sign language interpreter. Leela covered her mouth in disbelief.
I can't accept this,"
she whispered. Eleanor signed, "You already earned it." Behind her stood Adrian, holding a bouquet of lavender flowers. The same color as the dress she wore that first night. He said softly, "You once said our worlds are too different. But my mother and I learned something from you. That love and kindness speak louder than money or fame. You didn't just change her world. Leela, you changed mine." The tears streamed down Leela's cheeks as she signed, "Thank you." Eleanor stepped forward and gently placed her hand over Leela's heart, signing, "The world hears you, even in silence." The three of them embraced, and the moment was pure. No words, just emotion. Cameras weren't rolling, no headlines were written, just real people connected by kindness. A year later, Leela stood on stage at the Hartman Foundation Gala, wearing a graceful white gown. She had become a licensed interpreter and advocate for deaf education programs. She shared her story, signing as she spoke. "I used to think being unseen was safer, but kindness doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes, the quietest people have the most beautiful voices." And the audience rose in applause. And in the front row, Eleanor and Adrian watched proudly, tears in their eyes. As the camera panned out, Adrian reached for Leela's hand, smiling quietly. Not as a billionaire or a savior, but as someone who had learned that love doesn't always need words. This story isn't about wealth or fame. It's about how kindness, the simple act of seeing someone, can heal, inspire, and connect hearts that were never meant to meet. Leela wasn't a celebrity. She didn't have followers or luxury, but she had empathy, and that changed everything. So if you're watching this right now, remember you never know whose life you're touching, even with a smile, a kind word, or a simple sign. If this story touched your heart, tell us in the comments. What part made you emotional the most? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story on our channel. Be kind always, where every story reminds us that kindness still matters.